What's up, guys? Scott Lett here, owner of Iron City Power Washing. Before we dive in, y'all go check out Slinging Sauce podcast. We were featured on their channel as guests, my business partner and I, and we just got to tell our story a little bit and just talk about a few different topics regarding the industry. So thank you guys for having us on. We had a good time. It's cool to hear from other companies in our country who think like you do. We're very like-minded with these guys. Slinging Sauce podcast, really cool guys. But today we've got 3 jobs on the schedule. We've got 2 good-sized house washes and then a roof wash. We actually bumped up a job from tomorrow because tomorrow's going to be really wet and we already have 2 jobs on the schedule, so it'll just lighten our load a little bit for tomorrow. But we are 2.5 weeks booked right now, but we are slamming our days full of jobs. We're trying to do 3 to 5 jobs a day. That way when December gets here, we have what we want in the reserve, and then we can kind of cruise through December. December is usually when I take off quite a bit to, I take off, but also work a little bit, meaning I start thinking about next year, start planning for that. I'll contact some customers for the spring and summer, just do little things here and there. I've already ordered some new shirts for next year, some magnets for our vehicles, and I've learned, guys, that we go through a lot of trucks, so paying to get it wrapped every year is not very cost efficient for us, so we're just going to use magnets, and they're a lot cheaper than getting trucks wrapped, and we can just swap them over to a new truck. We buy a new truck every year. Our accountant told us to. Seems like the trucks we buy get used so heavily they go down, so so we're just going to use magnets. But ordered some new business cards, ordered magnets, ordered some new shirts, ordered some new hoodies for the winter coming up, and we're just getting ready for next year. So and I do have an announcement. We are going to implement driveway sealing, paver sealing next year. And also, we've had so many of our competitors reach out to us and just say, hey, look, dude, you are missing out on a great opportunity with the Christmas lights. And we've heard from enough people who care about us, like, yes, they're competitors, but they're like, dude, you are missing out on some really good money. So with that being said, I'm going to continue to operate the pressure washing side with our lead tech, and my business partner has put it upon himself to run the Christmas lights. So I will be washing a little bit more in the winter of next year, and doing all the scheduling, just continuously running the pressure washing. My business partner is going to hop into the Christmas lights, and we're going to implement that for 2026. He's way more excited about it than I am. I told him, if you want to do it, you head it up and make it happen. And I will continue to do what I know how to do, and that's run the wash side of the business, because this is our bread and butter. And if you serve too many masters, it'll come back to bite you. So, if I do think the concrete and paver sealing, I think that will be a very easy upsell for us. And the Christmas lights, I have no idea. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, what I want to talk about today in this video, before I get to my job here in a second, is it's for you new guys. It's for you guys just getting started. For you guys who are, starting to have a little bit of money to spend on your equipment. And that's, what are some things that you need to keep on your truck for backups? Like things that you don't really think about when you first get started. And I'll start with this. If you buy a new hose and you use it for, a couple months, and then it starts leaking, like around the coupling, it's usually because the O-rings have gone bad. And you can order O-rings off Amazon for very cheap. So, and you need I always keep a little pair of tweezers in my truck to get the old one out, put the new one in. So if you look inside the coupling of your high pressure hose, you will see a little rubber piece that's called an O-ring. Just swap it out. I always keep 2 or 3 ball valves on my truck. Again, anything that SH runs through messes up. You know, ball valves hit the ground. You know, when they're getting rolled up, they're dragging across the concrete. You know, it's good to have a backup ball valve. I always keep extra nozzles for my surface cleaner, depending on the size you need, on my truck. So I have, obviously, you know, 4 on my Mini Mondo, 2 on my 20-inch, and then I just keep a bunch of different nozzles, you know, back here in storage. On my truck, I keep bags and shower caps to cover Ring doorbells. I know it's not really a backup, but those things that you need on your truck, they're essential. You know, because you're gonna have to cover Ring doorbells. You're gonna have to cover any electrical outlets. You got to have a lot of tape to cover those things. I always keep a couple tarps on my truck for one, when it rains. I cover my equipment when it rains, and also to cover TVs. You got to have those things. Always have a backup surface cleaner. I usually have my Mini Mondo on the truck along with my 20-inch. You know, you may hit a rock or something and bend your bar, and then you're down a surface cleaner. So always keep a J-rod, an M5 twist, a shooter tip, many different ways to pull chem, different nozzles. I keep 3 or 4 different downstream injectors on my truck, 1.8s up to 2.3s, depending on the situation. Show you guys, I just keep them right here in my truck. I mean, just a backup downstream injector. I can just hook that up real quick and then I'm up and running. If you run S8s through those things every day like we do, they go bad. It's just part of it. Obviously, you can get that little bead out of there that gets stuck sometimes, and that prevents it from pulling. But sometimes they just go out completely. So I keep those on the truck. Obviously, I keep 100 feet of brand new high pressure hose on our truck in case one busts, because again, anything SH goes through, it will eventually ruin it and pop. What else is there? You know, I keep a couple guns on my truck, pressure washing guns, for different situations. I need to order another X-Jet nozzle. Mine just stopped working. I don't know what happened to it, but that's one of my favorite tools, and mine is broken currently. But luckily I have other nozzles to use. What else is there? I mean, I know for you guys just getting started, this is really hard to do, but I recommend always having 2 machines on your truck. I know that's not doable for some of you just starting off. You're just trying to make some money, but as you start making some money, I would implement 2 pressure washers, you know, to your truck. Like for instance, you guys who are using 4 gallons per minute machines, you know, when you get to the point where you're upgrading to, you know, an 8 or a 10, you know, don't just take that 4 gallon off and put it in your shop or in your basement. Figure out a way to put it on your rig. That way, if your 8 gallon or your 10 gallon goes down because you're not quite used to it yet, things happen, you can always resort to your 4 gallon per minute. I ran 1 machine for a while, and just bought a new machine, so I now have 2 machines. So my Honda GX690 is now my backup, and then I have this new pressure washer in the back of my truck now. So that gives me a peace of mind, just having 2 machines, because if one goes down, you never know. So 2 machines is great. For you guys who run the 12 volt systems, you know, I would always, you know, keep a backup Everflow or whatever 12 volt pump you use. Just keep a couple of those on your truck. Again, these things cost money. It takes time to get to this point in your career to where you can have backups. But the more backups you can have, the better you will operate, because you guys who get really busy, and you're using everything every day, things are going to break. That's just part of this industry, you know. And I said this on the podcast, you know, I get calls from guys saying, man, my stuff keeps breaking, you know, this and that. And I'm like, you know, I know that's unfortunate, but think about this. Things are breaking because you're using your equipment, which means you're making money, right? So instead of complaining about it, just prepare for it, because you could be on the other side of the, you know, spectrum of this, to where your equipment is sitting in the driveway, like a lot of guys who have built their business backwards, and you're not using your equipment at all. You have this $20,000 rig just sitting there because you forgot that, oh, I've got to get work for this rig. So be thankful that you are using your equipment enough to where it is breaking on you, because there's a lot of guys out there who are sitting at their house with a big question mark over their head, like, man, what did I do wrong? I bought the fin print shirts, I bought the $20,000 rig, the pre-built rig, I did all these things, man, but I forgot about the marketing side. I forgot that I need work. Okay, so and that's a whole different, you know, conversation. But, you know, have backups. It is super important to have backups on your truck, because the last thing you want to do is finally get momentum in your jobs, you know, getting your schedule filled, and then now you're having to tell your customer, I'm sorry, my machine just broke. You know, I'm sorry, my 12 volt just went down. I'm sorry, I don't have an extra high pressure hose, I've got to leave. You know, don't put yourself in that situation. All right. You know, I talk about reinvesting back in your company. And that's a part of reinvesting back in your company, is taking some of your, you know, your profits and, you know, buying those O-rings, buying those downstream injectors, buying those ball valves, buying those nozzles you need, buying your 12 volt pump that, you know, you may need if your current one goes out. Because guys, I'm telling you, belts burn up, O-rings bust, hoses bust, belts come off the machines, unloaders go down. Unloader, glad I said that. Make sure you have a couple unloaders on your truck, and just make it to where you can quick connect them. What else? And if I'm missing anything, I want you guys who are like, dude, say this, you're missing a big one, just comment it below, because I probably am missing some things. Oh, I keep extra shoes in my car, because as we know, there is no perfect pressure washing shoe out there. I've tried them all. They all get SH on them. They get holes. Your feet get soaking wet. So I've got a pair of Crocs in here. I've got a pair of tennis shoes in here. I've got socks in here. I've got tennis shoes on. And what I do is I bought a boot dryer, and I keep it in my office at home. And at the end of the day, I just throw my wet shoes on the boot dryer, and I just move over to the next pair of shoes, and I just rotate through them. So I've got about 4 or 5 different pairs of tennis shoes and some Crocs, but I wear the Crocs when I'm done for the day, just to let my feet air out. You know, I don't wear that on jobs, but I just can't handle having wet feet. I can't do it. So I keep a lot of socks on here. What else is there, guys? I think I've covered a lot of ground, which is good, because I'm about to pull up this house wash, and probably hook up my new downstream injector, because the one I've been using has got me through about 6 months, which is really good for a downstream injector. But what I've been doing, guys, at the end of the job is I just spray a little WD-40 in that downstream injector, and it keeps that little bead and those springs nice and loose and working as they should. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys are doing really well. I am taking calls again. I think I mentioned that in my previous video. If you want to, you know, hop on a call, it's a $75 call. I can answer any of your questions. And what I've been doing is, you know, I schedule a day, you know, with whoever, and then I get them to text me some questions. That way I have time to meditate on your questions, think about it, come up with a good answer. That way when we do talk, we're getting through all these questions and I'm giving you a good answer. All right, guys, Scott Lett, Iron City Power Washing.